Standard
It is. It's the
Time
most.
metrics.
Yeah. I mean, Eastern time, whatever Beijing is in, has got to be the two most important time zones in the world, right?
I feel like it is, 'cause I know whenever I have clients and whatnot that are on Pacific time, it's like,
I know. I don't know. Well, so clients would be like, "Hey, can I call you like 4:30 Pacific time?" I'm like, "Oh my god! Like I'm already in my pajamas at that point."
I know, exactly. I mean, you're getting ready to go on a cruise though,
I am. Oh my
correct?
gosh! I know. Yes, yes. I fly out in 2 days. 2 days. Actually, I get my COVID test in an hour or so, so I can't stay super long.
That is okay. I think my nose is sick of COVID tests. It's revolting.
I
Again,
know. Another COVID test. It looks like some of my summit people are in here. Miss
I know we've
Q,
got Lisa,
Pam.
Cindy, Pam, Miss Q, Josh, and Emmy.
Yep, yep, yep. Oh, even though I'm sure it's fine. I'm always I'm nervous to go get COVID tested today, but it's like, ugh, if it's negative, that just is a. I'm sorry, if it's positive, like that is just a negative chain of events
I
that
was so
follow.
worried about that before going to Paris because I literally got home
Uh,
Saturday from adventure and I went to urgent care. Didn't even like go home first. I
right.
went to urgent care and had them shove that up my nose.
Yeah, and I don't know. So it's just
I
the
mean,
nervousness of like, oh, well, St. Martin approved the travel visa, so hopefully I'll get the test back today. So I'm just like,
right. Hunt is in here, both Pams today.
oh, Emmy booked a hotel for September. Good, good, good,
Go
good.
Tigers. What's your best tips for jet lag? So I think I'm the opposite with jet lag. I know that people say going east is worse.
No, East is
I
easy.
struggle going west.
What? Yeah.
And honestly, it wasn't too bad today. Like last night, I got home at about 5:30 and I went to bed at 9:30. I slept for about 10 and a half hours and I feel fine. And like what I did in Paris when I got there, because I did an overnight flight, I was in Delta One, so I slept for part of it. I took a slight mid-afternoon nap before our show. And then I just stayed up per normal. I typically don't have a jet lag problem except for that time we went to Hawaii, Jason, but I just think my body was mad at
Uh,
me because I went to Rome for 2 weeks. I came home for 4 nights, and then
well,
I flew to Honolulu. I literally flew half of the world in in the course of 4 days.
I still think Hawaii was the worst jet lag I've ever had.
It
It was
was.
the worst jet
We were
lag.
dying. We were in bed by 7 PM, up at 3 AM. It was just
Like I remember waking up at 3 o'clock and being like, "Hey, are you awake? Hi."
I'm just like, "I can't go back to sleep."
It was so, or yeah. I mean,
It
I next time I do Hawaii, I almost want to go to Vegas for like a night or two to
Yeah, or
like.
California or something, just kind of break it up a
Uh,
pinch.
yes, yeah.
Kathleen's in here. Good morning, Captain Rehab. Jason's in here. Eddie's in here. Tom's in here. And for all of you watching right now, whether you're
Oh,
watching,
Tom is currently on the Celebrity Millennium.
oh, look at
He's
Tom getting that good Wi-Fi signal.
Yeah, he's from St. Lucia. Awesome, Tom. Oh, I cannot wait to talk to you. So Tom is getting off the Millennium the day I board it, aboard the Summit. So I'm hoping to meet up with you, Tom, as we're hopefully the ships are side by side. So although he said the last time when he got on the Millennium, there were two rust buckets in between the like next to him. So
Oh
ho-
no.
hopefully the rust buckets, which will go unnamed, will not be there for the Summit and Millennium side by side. That could be a cool photo.
You can't sit with us.
You can't sit with us. You cannot sit with us.
Ryan, good morning. Now, guys, remember if you are watching on HAPS, which is where we broadcast from, or one of the channels we multicast to, be it Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, please make sure you share this. We are live here every Tuesday, unless there's something crazy happening at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I was broadcasting even from Paris last week. Jason's going to broadcast from the Celebrity Summit next week. but we're pretty
Yep.
true to form to staying to this time unless there's something crazy happening.
We only moved it one time in the afternoon. So, all right. Well, it is top of the hour. Let's do this. Good morning, everybody. It's that time of the week again. It is Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We come together every week to bring you all the news of all things travel, not just cruising, not just hotels, every aspect of the travel industry. I am Jason Poole with Cruise Planners, an American Express travel representative. And as always, I am flanked virtually by Miss Haley Whiting. How are you doing, Miss Haley? Back from Paris?
Good morning. I'm doing great. For those of you that are first time watchers in here, my name is Haley. I have been working in the hotel industry for 14 years. I write a travel blog and own a hotel sales support company. And Jason and I are here to bring you the fair, balanced, and unafraid
Unafraid.
travel news, the good, the bad, the indifferent.
Yeah.
We cover it all. So, Jason, it's going to be the normal agenda, just like we
Yep.
always do. We start with the hot travel topics of the week. This is the latest and greatest news, the list of countries for U.S. citizens to travel to, a travel tip of the day, two questions of the day, one from one of our followers in our Today in Travel group on Facebook. And then we just converse. So let's get started with the first topic this week. I'm going to just let you go with this one because I know you're excited.
Oh, I'm so sad I'm not there.
I
Celebrity
know.
Celebrity Cruises is the first cruise line to set sail from the United States. So the Celebrity Edge departed Florida on June 26th. There were only two unvaccinated adults on board. There were a couple kids, of course, that weren't vaccinated, but all the rest of the adults were vaccinated. The crew's 100% vaccinated. Haley, you and I both have a lot of friends on board,
We
some colleagues,
do.
and it's making me look. It just pains me that I'm not. That I keep seeing Captain Kate in all these videos. It looks like
I
they're having.
know.
I'm just like, I cannot wait to get back on a celebrity cruise, which is happening Saturday. So I'm real excited.
I hear you. Now I was looking, I'm in Paris and I'm like, oh, cruising as I'm sitting here in Paris.
I still just think that I love cruise. There's something about it that I love. I think it's the social aspect. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
nothing can replace taking your daughter to Paris. Nothing.
No, no, absolutely not. It's a totally different thing. But I think, like you said, coming off of this year of seclusion, this year
Right.
plus of seclusion, having even a taste of that social aspect that you and I had on the adventure 2 weeks ago, and leaves you wanting more.
So people have asked like good questions like, hey, why is Celebrity able to go ahead and start sailing now when other cruise lines haven't? The reason why is Celebrity has guaranteed a minimum threshold of vaccinated passengers. And that's largely because Celebrity doesn't have as many children as other cruise lines. So Celebrity hasn't had to do the test sailings because Royal Caribbean cannot commit to only having 5% unvaccinated passengers. Celebrity is saying we guarantee it. We will have no more than 5%. It will be less than 5% unvaccinated cruisers. So that's why Celebrity is able to start sailing soon because they just don't have the family and as many children. I mean, there are children on Celebrity, just nowhere near as many as around like Norwegian, Royal, Disney, etc. So that's one reason Celebrity is going and other cruise lines are still doing the test voyages to see if their protocols will work with more than 5% unvaccinated.
That's a great answer. I'm glad you're able to spell that out because it is
Yeah.
confusing because there is so much like trauma
Yeah.
going on with Florida and cruising. It is.
And so there's also been some breaking news. The Royal Caribbean Group is making it difficult for people who were not vaccinated to get on board. They're doing things such as have to get tested 72 hours before, tested at the terminal at your own expense. They're doing certain venues on board the ship are only for vaccinated passengers. So some of the nightclubs, some of the bars, certain floors of the dining rooms are going to be only for vaccinated passengers. You have to do a ship excursion if you're not vaccinated. Yesterday, it came out that Royal Caribbean, and I'm not sure if Celebrity's following suit, is making unvaccinated passengers purchase travel insurance the cruise out of Florida. So they're really making it the barrier to entry being high if you don't want to get vaccinated and cruise out of Florida.
And we're just going to give some side eye to JJ Cruz, who just entered the chat from the Celebrity Edge.
Yeah, we're just gonna. We already talked about you. We already talked
we
about
already
you.
talked about you.
Yeah.
So, if you guys want to see what it's like, actually, you can check their channel out too. They're doing a bunch of lives. So
they're doing great. JJ Cruz is there. They're doing fan. Just search for JJ Cruz on YouTube. You'll find them. They're doing some great work on the Edge. I just sit in bed and watch it. And I get angry. So,
Jason, on the cruise topic, before we flip over to our next one, we did have a quick question if there was Alaska cruise update.
I mean, it looks like it's happening, right? I mean, so Seattle, cruise out of Seattle, or pretty much every state except for Florida is letting the cruise lines require vaccinations. So to cruise out of Seattle, you're gonna have to prove you're vaccinated, and just like it is to cruise out of St. Martin for Celebrity or Nassau for Royal Caribbean, you're gonna have to prove vaccination status.
Absolutely. I think that's great. And I do have a YouTube video up on a pre or post cruise Seattle trip, and the written article will be out later this week.
Awesome.
As well. So let's up to our next topic, Jason.
Yeah, so this is cool. So New Zealand has been they have led the world with Australia in their response to COVID-19, largely because they are island nations and can literally just close the border. No one comes in. If you leave, you can't come back. So Australia and New Zealand had kind of like a mutual travel bubble. New Zealand stopped it because of the rise in the Delta variant. Because New Zealand hasn't had a case in New Zealand from community spread since February, which is crazy. It's just crazy. So they're starting to open things back up with Australia, have to do testing. But Australia's done a great job as well with COVID-19. So Australia, New Zealand, they're going to be able to start kind of traveling back and forth between the two island nations. So good job and exciting times for our friends down under.
Absolutely. Number 6, we're going to be tackling this a little bit later in this broadcast, but Jason, take it away.
So Europe is doing like a vaccine certificate, almost like a vaccine passport, if you will. We've discussed this at length if you watched our previous shows. I'm in favor of it. Haley's in favor of it. I'm totally okay with it. Unfortunately, there has been some inconsistencies in the rollout among the Europe bloc. Some nations are upset that they're not checking them at their at the border or airports. They're being relaxed. So someone needs to get together and just make sure all the EU nations plus England are all on the same page. So Europe travel is a little weird amongst itself. Haley, you want to briefly tell your story about the color coding. You've experienced this firsthand.
Yes. So before we get into color coding, I'm going to tackle onto my theory on this because we're going to talk about literally in a few moments here the full experience. I think some of these countries, especially your Greece, your Spain, your Italy, your France, which are very tourist heavy, were just running and tripping all over themselves to get something out there to start getting money in. Because I will tell you, I cannot tell you how many times I was in a taxi at a restaurant this last week, and I am the first American they've seen in a year and a half.
That's insane.
And I think there's so many confusing steps to the process. And I am writing an article this week.
Okay, good.
To kind of demystify it a little bit. But I think they just kind of threw together the basics, threw it out there. They're not fully vetted, interpreted. I mean, I'll be able to tell you in a few moments here. It was a very confusing at times and interesting process for France.
Yeah, so we've just seen some inconsistencies. Look, I mean, even for my celebrity cruise this weekend, like an email will say one thing from celebrity, and then celebritycruises.com says something else. So it's there's just been massive inconsistencies, and it's frustrating. But Haley, we've said it a million times: if you're gonna travel during a global pandemic, you have to be flexible and patient and read and read and read and reread all the rules. So good news. Things are opening back up, but Europe's still a little messy, but you went and had fun. So
Oh my god,
uh,
I highly recommend it.
good. So
Next
this is
topic. This is a very controversial one, but we said fair, balanced, and unafraid.
right. So California has already banned had already banned a dozen or so states from state travel. So any type of like official state business, the state of California had already banned about a dozen states, including my home state of Tennessee, from traveling because of their anti-LGBTQ policies, laws, and discrimination. Well, they announced this week that they are now banning travel to Arkansas, Florida, Montana, North Dakota, and West Virginia. So now there are 17 states where California will not send any of its state employees for state funded trips to visit. But they just do not feel, one, they should be financially supporting states that are promoting bigotry, and two, potentially putting their LGBTQ employees and representatives in possible danger by going to some of these hostile states. So,
I've seen this happen before when even when I worked locally in the Rochester area before I moved out, the CVB canceled any trade shows that were in Alabama and somewhere else
yep,
because of this. And I think, we've talked about this when you travel in general, aligning with travel partners
yeah,
that align with your beliefs.
yes, yeah, and as a gay man myself, I am keenly aware of vendors, cruise lines, tour operators, hotel companies that are more accepting and safe for myself and my LGBT clients. And I mean, yes, I live in Tennessee. I live in downtown Nashville. I feel totally safe, but there are lots of parts of the state where I necessarily would not feel safe going. And I think California is just trying to make sure that their gay, lesbian, transgender, bisexual, etc. state workers feel safe when they are traveling for official state business. So I am I am okay with this because you have to keep your people safe. And
Absolutely. And this is a great reason to also use a travel advisor, not to plug you, but
oh,
you know very well that there's some destinations that
yep,
are not friendly
no, right,
for that.
right. I mean, there's lots of trips, and I'm like, I don't know that I want to go do a five five ports in Russia. Like, looks like a great trip, but I don't want to go to Russia for that's a lot of Russia. So
Yeah,
there are some places where I just avoid, and I would recommend my LGBTQ clients to avoid as well. And I understand where California's coming from. So yeah,
absolutely. Well, coming off of that, we're going to go into this country list. We haven't had a whole lot of updates. I do have to make a slight adjustment to this because with France's color coded system getting vetted further, there's one color code that's 48 hours and there's another color code that's 72 hours. So
okay,
this sheet might be getting a makeover, but no real updates. I mean, we'll be adding Norway. I just don't know to which column we'll be adding this as well. And I believe Sweden's looking to open. So Those are super exciting. So that's going to bring us next to our question of the day, which I am very, very excited to talk about. Oh, Jason, are you
Yeah.
curious what it's like to travel to Europe right now?
I will find out in, let's see, about a month and a half. So, yes. So,
Yes. So, first off, I'm going to 100% put my stamp on this and say go do it if you can this summer. The best part about this is you get beautiful peak season weather without peak season crowds right now.
okay. Okay.
And prices I thought were very good. I've seen a round trip out of New York, Europe flights for 450 to 600 bucks,
I didn't find those
which
prices to
is
go to Greece.
which is pretty cheap in itself for peak season. I've seen even cheaper in the off season. But I mean, we were able to do things like you've seen the pictures at the Louvre of the Mona Lisa. Like, and people
And it's
are with their selfie
just
sticks.
right. Right.
It's insane. Museum tickets are timed now, which
I
is
mean, I like that.
and we got up next to the Mona Lisa in the matter of 3 minutes waiting in the line.
That's
And we're
amazing.
able to take our time, take our pictures. We actually got in line twice because I always double check my photos after. And I'm like, this focus isn't quite where I wanted it to be. And Olivia and I hopped back in line and shot another couple photos because we could. And it was amazing. So you're going to expect time tickets
Okay.
in France. You don't have to wear a mask outside. They only ask when you're in museums and when you're like getting to your seat at a restaurant to wear a mask. It is required to wear a mask on the metro. And there's actually announcements that if you are caught not wearing your mask on the metro, they fine you 150 euros.
Okay.
So there's that. Um, the color code system. So France in particular, and we've seen this kind of roll out between a bunch of different countries, has a red, amber slash orange and green system. If you come from a green country, which is usually somewhere in the block, or there's a Euro 10 list of countries like Australia, something of that nature, where you can just go very fluid. You don't have to do testing as long as you're vaccinated. You can just kind of come and go as you please. The US is technically on an orange or amber list, and what that is you if you are vaccinated, you can go, but you have to have a test 72 hours prior if you are age 11 and above. Kids 10 and under can travel with vaccinated parents without a test. And then if you are from a red list country, which this is all going to be on my website, there's about 20 of them where there's high variants like Sri Lanka, things of that nature. You can come, but you have to quarantine for 7 days and have a 48-hour test. Now, back up to the orange list, you can go if you're not vaccinated, but there is a quarantine and a test requirement for that as well.
So here's a question. So you did the Adventure of the Seas cruise,
Yes.
and we both agreed that it was mostly normal, right? Did you think going to France was mostly normal?
Yeah. Oh, hands down. And
Okay.
that was something, when we were sitting on the steps at Trocadero near the Eiffel Tower to watch it light up for the first time for Olivia to see it, there was probably about 60 people sprinkled around Trocadero. And everybody was just kind of sitting, like there were people, peddling their souvenirs, peddling champagne
Hmm.
and beer, like, and it felt normal. It felt almost completely normal. And I would say if you have some travel funds that you did not use this last year, go to Europe. You are not going to regret it. You are going to get that peak season travel experience without as many crowds. I can tell you probably at least 10 times during the week, I had walked into a shop, a restaurant, or a taxi and been told I'm the first American that they've seen in a year and a half. And I mean, the Parisians, I've heard, there's rumors that like they're rude and they hate Americans, and that's not the case. I've been twice now.
Well,
You know,
a lot of Americans are rude, so
yeah.
you know.
I mean, there's that whole shtick. Um, but like they're not like warm like I found Italian people to be. It's just very like black and white. This trip, man, you saw them just come out of their shells, just so excited to see people and to do things. The only thing that was not functioning when we were there, and it opens in July, is the elevator to go up the Eiffel Tower and stuff like that, to actually do the Eiffel Tower, which honestly wasn't that high on my list. But we pretty much did everything else. Versailles was amazing. Like being able to get into Versailles, and I sent Jason the photo, and maybe I'll throw one in the broadcast next week. By getting the first time ticket to Versailles opening, I was able to get photos of just myself and my daughter in the Hall of Mirrors, which is
Those photos were good.
unheard of. So if you want to experience Europe with beautiful weather, I'm going to have particularly France in general, I'm going to have a post and a video so you guys can see what it was like. Go do it now. Like I'm planning to try to hop over across the pond again another time or two this year, just because I want to take advantage of that.
I love it. Well, keep tuned to all of her content. She's gonna write articles, videos. I love following all, except for the Disney stuff, but
Oh,
whatever.
that's funny. Before we talk about this tip of the day, I got a lot of questions about Disneyland Paris, and I'm glad I went. I'm glad I did it. But it was not great. Like it was the like least Disney thing. Like when you go to California and you're in the parks, or Florida and you're in the parks, you feel like you're in that Disney bubble and it's just magical. This kind of felt like Six Flags.
So you're saying I would have liked it more? It'd have been great.
Possibly. I mean, your lack of palate probably would have enjoyed that. But I'm glad I did it. We had a good time. There was a couple different rides which were cute, but it's a one and done thing for me.
Okay. Okay. Well, we have to move on. I have to go get my COVID test very
We
soon. So let's move
do.
on to the next topic, the travel tip of the day. So as the airlines and hotels and cruise lines and resorts are trying to recover from the pandemic, a lot of them are incentivizing loyalty and
Yes.
trying to lure you away and to try their brands. So if there's ever a brand you've ever wanted to try and build status with, now was a good time. Because companies, cruise lines are doing a lot of like double point promotions right now, which are kind of double it, right? It's a two-pronged approach, right? So they're trying to keep their loyal customers there, but they're also trying to entice new people. Like Hyatt, for example, is reducing its night stay threshold by 50%. So there's lots of
Absolutely.
things
Delta
out.
has their accelerator too, where you can hit status faster with Delta, and it pays to have some status.
You
So
know
can I
what?
look important to you?
I'm gonna hit status for the first time with Delta ever this year, and I'm kind of excited to hit status. I'm gonna hit status with Hyatt probably for the first time ever this year. So their lucrative promotions are making me like refocus and to stay loyal to companies like, because I used to fly Delta a lot, I used to fly a lot of Southwest, but sorry Eddie if you're in here, but I'm really trying to maybe just do just Delta all the time. So again, sorry Eddie.
Well,
Um,
some of those perks really pay off. Like when you and I were packing for the adventure, and you're talking about like the weight of your suitcase. I'm like, I never worry about that, because with Gold
yep,
Medallion from Delta,
right,
I get 75-pound bags. I've never gone over that, but
right.
I don't worry about that. And it's nice, when you have the higher hotel status, that you can check out later if you want to. You can check in earlier if you want to, of course, based on availability.
Right.
But those little perks add up.
They do. So tip, it pays to be loyal, and now's a good time to either
Almost
switch
everybody's
brands.
doing it right now, guys. Check it out. Almost
Everybody.
everybody's doing it. So
So
take advantage
great,
of it.
Great tip of that. So this is a question I get all the time. I'm going to kind of mend the question a little bit. One, do you recommend annual travel insurance? And the question from Brian in our Facebook group, todayintravel.live, said, which company do you recommend for annual travel insurance? Okay, so the appeal of annual travel insurance is simple. It's less expensive, right? That's the appeal. You buy a policy for the year, you're covered. That's the appeal. The company I like for all of my travel insurance needs is Allianz. They are fantastic. They have annual policies, and I like them. Now, here's the negative side of an annual policy. You don't get to buy $300 policy and protect you for the entire year without there being some asterisks and some fine print. The trip cancellation and the trip interruption part of the policies typically will max out after one trip. If you're someone who typically books expensive rooms, like if you're a suite person, you do, or maybe you're not even a suite, you do expensive trips. Some of these policies will only cover up to $15,000 for trip cancellation a year, and that's it. So, I mean, I have clients who spend $15,000 on one trip. So if there is an emergency and they can't go, there's they have to cancel, or there's trip interruption, they've maxed out their policy. The other negative is most of the Allianz policies have $500,000 emergency medical and $500,000 emergency transportation. The regular Allianz policy has $1 million emergency transportation, and you can literally spend $1 million getting home in an emergency. So annual policies are fine. It's better than nothing. If you're someone that typically books very inexpensive cruises and you're more concerned with just health coverage, an annual policy could be right for you. If you're someone that books very expensive trips, you travel all the time, and you really want that trip interruption and trip cancellation protection, an annual policy is not for you.
I love the trip interruption policy.
We've used it. I've used it.
I've used it so many times. Well, I mean, Jason, even when I came back from Cozumel, and I think we've talked about this. I don't think we have on here, but man, when my flights got all screwed up on American on the way home, and all those other people ended up being stuck in San Antonio from a rerouted plane that I was on for 8 hours, I literally called you and I was like, can I just book this Delta flight to go home from San Antonio tomorrow? And you're like, yep, keep your hotel receipt, keep your food receipt, keep your plane receipt. And I pretty much got everything back over what, a $50 policy?
Yeah, right. And so I personally like doing policies per trip, but if you're going to do annual, it's fine. It's better than having nothing. So I know that was a winded answer, Brian, but hopefully that clears it up.
But the medical part was even so helpful because when I got sick in Paris last year,
Right.
I
Right.
had a doctor come to my room with the doctor visit and the prescription. I paid like $130, $140 out of pocket. Just sent you the receipt, you filed it, and I got my money back.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's nice
I'm a
is
big fan.
right. And when you buy a policy, through your travel advisor, yes, they get commission, but it's also, I go to bat for you. And so Haley was like, Jason, I don't want to do this freaking insurance claim. You do it. and I did it. So that's it. So, all right, Miss Haley, that is a wrap. I do believe, make sure you are a part of our Facebook group at todayintravel.live. Haley, any parting words or advice before we sign off?
No, just take me with you this weekend.
Oh, I wish, I wish, I wish. So, all right, guys. Well, as Haley said, this weekend or starting or Thursday, I fly to St. Martin, spending 2 days in St. Martin. On Saturday, I board the Celebrity Summit for a 7-night cruise down to Aruba, Barbados, and Curacao. I will be posting. Won't be as good as Haley's content, but I will try
Oh
my
gosh.
best to live up to Haley. So, all right, guys, take care, and we'll
Mhm.
see you. We'll see you.